this world. Hosted by the legendary Gary Anderson, we dive deep into the mysteries of UFOs, Bigfoot, Mothman, and the ever-elusive UAPs. Are we alone in the universe, or are we on the brink of contact? Could an alien invasion be closer than we think, and if so, will humanity stand a chance? Join us as we explore the cutting edge of extraterrestrial encounters, government cover-ups, and spine-chilling stories from the best guests in the field. Buckle up, this is where the unknown becomes reality. Be sure to subscribe and like Night Dreams and share with your friends and family.
Is the James Webb Telescope about to reveal we're not alone in this vast galaxy? Could life be thriving on distant planets, waiting to be discovered? Stay tuned, because the moment we've been waiting for might be just around the corner.
Thank you to all of our loyal followers and subscribers for helping us reach an incredible 170,000 subscribers. Your support keeps us going, and we couldn't do it without you. Don't forget to keep sharing and liking our videos, it really makes a difference. If you want to take your support to the next level, you can join our membership starting at just 99 cents a month, which helps keep the show free for everyone. And don't forget to check out our awesome merchandise at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Stay tuned, our show is starting soon.
Have you had an alien encounter, crossed paths with Bigfoot, or seen the mysterious
Get ready for the ultimate ride into the unknown with Gary Anderson's Night Dreams Talk Radio, hosted by the legendary voice of alternative talk radio, Gary Anderson himself. This is where the best guests and the biggest mysteries come alive. From UAPs and Bigfoot to earth-shaking changes and mind-bending time travel, we've got it all. Brace yourself, because when night falls, Night Dreams Talk Radio takes you to the edge and beyond.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers talk show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
Well, here it is, November the 8th, and here's Guy Ticker with the current news.
The strange news in brief. I'm Guy Ticker. Lasers reveal massive Maya site. Hidden beneath the Guatemalan rainforest, a lost 650 square mile ancient Maya site has been found. While conducting an aerial survey of northern Guatemala using high-tech lasers, researchers detected the sprawling Maya site. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com.
Hi, this is Val Von Torn of Metatron Power and Light. You're listening to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Well, thank you, Val. Well, you know, at times like this, it really think about recalling. There's always been times like this. And what I'm saying is, what has been going on, it's going to happen again. JC, what have you been up to today?
Oh, just making sure guests are sounding good, finding guests, and just a lot of guesty stuff.
Well, were people like going to the grocery stores and stocking up before Thanksgiving?
I did go there, and you know what? We got a free one because one store, if you spend so much, they give you a free large turkey for so much and so much for a small one and so on.
Really? You still eat turkeys?
Once a year.
I tell you what I eat. You know what it is?
It comes in a box?
Yeah, diet food.
Diet. Yeah.
Of course, I went off my diet. You know, they hid the Halloween candy.
Well,
and you know, they have me on this diet, like under 1,000 calories a day. And I've been like 3 months of it. And I opened up the cupboard, and underneath something was a big bag of like 100 candy bars, Hershey's, Almond Joy. And then my wife, when she got up to go to work today, she goes, "How many did you eat?" I said, "About 5. She goes, "How many did you eat?" "Well, maybe 25. "How many did you eat?" "I don't know. I stopped when they were almost gone."
Yeah. Kind of reminds me that people would go get a couple of Big Macs and large fries and then say, "Oh, you know what? You better give me a Diet Coke."
But I got really engrossed in watching a whole bunch of Gomer Pyle last night because, you know, our next guest is Ruta Lee, and she was on Andy Griffith's show, as you know, and on quite a few of the episodes of Gomer Pyle.
Yeah, I've seen her on a couple of those. You know, I've seen the one episode that you probably won't see much anything kind of like it, where Andy said to him, "Meet me behind the woodshed," and you know what that meant.
Yeah. Well, did he take his belt off?
He started to, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. We got a great show here tonight. We're going to be talking about aliens, ET, disclosure, not disclosure, the circus with the Congress. That's my opinion. You know, on the 13th at 11 o'clock, it's supposed to be another hearing with the Congress. Do you think they're going to give out anything? You think we're going to learn anything other than nothing?
Well, if so, it'd be the first time since like I say, I've been seeing this in documentaries and so on since I was a young man in the 70s, and it's yet to be delivered.
Well, think about this. You know, again, I can't believe I've had so many guests on. When I start talking about the flyover Washington, D.C. in 1951, or I talk about Roswell, or I talk about other things that happened, right? They say that doesn't count. That happened a long time ago. But what more disclosure you want? Thousands and thousands of people saw the flyover in Washington, D.C. A heck of a lot of people knew what happened in Roswell, but that doesn't count, does it? But now it's like, well, I know somebody who saw, you know, alien bodies. I know somebody, knows somebody that they on crash retrievals. That is major information. But,
it is.
But Roswell wasn't? And the flyover, Washington, D.C. over a couple-day period wasn't it was them telling us that they're here.
Yeah, that was them flexing their wings or whatever you want to say. But listen, I just seen a guy on a documentary, an older man. He was a child in 52 when that happened.
Well, if he was an older man, he had to start out as a child.
He did. He did. But anyway, he was a child back in the early 50s, and him and his dad witnessed this event. So it did happen. And these things, there's been a lot of events all throughout the years. As a matter of fact, what about 1897 Aurora, Texas? There's another one.
Oh, yeah, but, again, that didn't happen. If you listen to the Pentagon, you listen to the CIA, you listen to anybody in the defense, DOD, that never happened. Well, you know what? We got a great guest. We're going to talk about this stuff. Let's find out a little bit of information about him. We had to dig really deep for this.
Jim Quirk is the creator and host of Extraterrestrial Reality, a podcast which can be found on QUIRK Zone on YouTube and UFO Extraterrestrial Reality on Spotify. Jim's interest in UFOs and aliens was spurred by an encounter he had with what he believes was an extraterrestrial being that appeared in his bedroom when he was almost 9 years old in 1977 in Mahanoy Plane, Pennsylvania, and a close-up sighting of a UFO in 1994 while night fishing with a friend near Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Jim Quirk is also a former newspaper reporter who covered local governments and newspapers in Iowa, Hawaii, and, of course, Pennsylvania over a period of 14 years, from 1996 through 2010.
Well, Jim, welcome to the show. How are you doing on this Friday night?
Thank you very much for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Again, you had something happen when you were young. How old were you?
I was just about 9. I was. It was probably the late summer of 1977, and I used to sleep in the attic in a small house. It was a family of 5. Actually, my youngest sister wasn't born yet. She was going to be born later on that year, and I used to sleep in this attic with my brother Davey. I wake up in the middle of the night one time, and there was something in the room I heard, and there was a noise, like a buzzing sound, like an electronic humming sound. It sounded like bees or something. It was very loud and overpowering, and I could see something was standing by the bed, and it was moving its hand over where my face. I had a blanket over my head, and the light was on, and I could see this hand, a 3-fingered hand, getting closer to my face and then further.
No, I'm going to interrupt you. You had a blanket over your head?
Yeah, I always usually sleep with a blanket over my head.
Okay, it wasn't you were scared and you put the blanket over your head.
No, I woke up with the blanket over my head.
I wanted to make sure, because I'll be honest with you. Anytime I get scared when I was a kid, I had to put the blanket over my head. Like, that's going to protect me. But you know what? I still do it. But, don't tell anybody. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Oh, that's fine, Gary. Yeah, what happened was, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, who's there? I wasn't sure. Was it my brother? Was he, is he playing a game on me? I didn't know. But I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't. It had to be something was there. I could see this 3-fingered hand. There was, and it was this strange noise. Like, I knew immediately that this was, pretty much right out of the gate, that there was something very strange happening. And this whatever was there was not answering me, and it just kept on. I could see its hand getting closer to my face, and then further away. I could see it. It was a thin blue blanket, and I could see through the blanket. It was in the late summer, and I was too afraid to look at this thing. I could see it standing there, the shadow of it. But I peeked out of the blanket in the other direction to where my brother was. Brother Davey was on the other side of the room, and I started yelling to him. And I noticed that the humming sound was like somewhat muffling my voice. And I was really terrified then, and I started screaming for my mom and dad. And nobody came. They were right underneath the room, right underneath our room there in the attic, and they never came. And I'm just laying there, and this thing is standing there, and it's moving its hand over my face and then further away. And I thought it was the devil or a demon or something. I was an altar boy at the time, and that's the only explanation I could come up with, and I couldn't understand it. And then this lasted for 20 minutes, and then the next thing I knew, I just conked out. And then I woke up the next day, and I tried telling my mom, and and she didn't believe me. And then later on, I told my dad, and he didn't believe it. And so I went on for years thinking it was the devil. It was like at least 10 years went by, and and then I saw a show about alien abductions, and that's when I realized, that's what it probably was. I couldn't, I never had an explanation for it that made any sense. And then when I saw these documentaries in the late 80s, early 90s, I realized that's what it was. It took me a little time to come to terms with that, but then I settled on it. It had to be. I mean, there's no other explanation. I knew it was real personally. I just couldn't prove it.
Well, can I ask you a question though? At 9 years old, you're thinking maybe it was demons or spirits or something like that. How did that affect you? I mean, you went to your mom and dad. You told them. Did you go into any teachers, or did you tell your friends? And what happened?
Yeah, I did tell some friends. Well, actually, I'll never forget the most memorable thing about the next morning. I remember I got up at 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that, and my brother Davey was already up and gone. And I went running downstairs, and I'm telling my mom what happened, and she's not believing me. And this went on for like a couple of hours. I mean, I was like begging her. I'm telling you, Mom, there was something in the room last night. And she kept on insisting that it was a dream. And then I remember the most memorable part of the day was, I remember it just occurred to me that I'm thinking, nobody's going to believe me. I'm just a kid, and no one's ever going to believe this. And then I remember my dad getting home from work, and I went running out to the car and started telling him. And of course, I got the same story. It was just a dream. And then you just have to deal with it. And I knew it was real. I actually tried to trick myself as the years went on, as time went on, thinking, well, maybe I was dreaming. But I would know in the back of my head, I was like, no, I was awake. There was something there. And it was, I guess it was something from hell. That was the only explanation I could come up with. And it was funny because, it was, later that in 1978, I saw movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind that came out in late 77. And just I never made the connection. I never thought of aliens. I always thought that was nonsense. when I was a kid. I thought it was all just Hollywood concoctions, and I didn't realize that why they were making movies like that. I had no idea growing up that people really saw UFOs. It wasn't until like 1980 I saw an In Search Of episode, a part of it anyway, when they're talking about UFO crashes, and that's the first time they talked about Roswell, I think, on TV. And that's when I knew about something then, but I wasn't sure if it was real or not. I remember I was walking through the room and my dad said, I start watching TV, and he's watching In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, and I said, this is real, and he's there, you didn't know this, or something like that. There was an exchange, and then but I never really took it seriously. I never made the connection. It was like I said, it was years later. At least 10 years went by before I realized that what it had to be. I mean, there's only one explanation as far as I'm concerned at this point.
Well, to go through that, I'm going to even regress you. Let's pretend I'm a hypnotist, and I'm going to regress you. When you were peeking out from that kind of sheer blanket, how tall was whatever you saw? What did they actually look? What can you describe about that entity that you saw?
Well, that's the thing. I never looked in the direct. I looked in the opposite. The thing was standing by my bed, right aside my bed. I could see its shadow. I could see something standing there, something short, something small, and it had a hand. I could see its skinny arm, and I could see three just three digits. They were thick at the fingers were thick at the base, and they came to almost points at the tips. And it was moving like ritualistically, like close to my face and then further away, close to my face and then further away. And the whole time for 20 minutes, it just kept on doing that. And when I peeked out of the blanket, I didn't peek in the direction where that thing was standing. I peeked on the other side, like on the other side of the room where my brother was. And he was laying there facing me, and he was like completely dead asleep. And I started screaming to him, and he didn't budge. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. I'm like, Davey, Davey. And then when he wasn't answering, then I started screaming for my mom and dad, and nobody was coming to the rescue. And so what happens then? And then nobody believes you, and then just time goes by, years go by, you think about it now and then, and I tried to convince myself, well, maybe it was a dream, but I always knew in the back of my head that it wasn't. I know I was awake, and there was just no question that, the difference. And this, like, again, this lasted for 20 minutes, and I had no explanation for it other than to think that, Satan or one of his demons were coming from hell to, pay a visit for reasons unknown. That was all I could think of, and it never made any sense to me until years later.
Now, Jim, have you ever had any other encounters other than that one?
Yes, in 1994, Gary, I was fishing with a friend. My friend, a good friend of mine, had called me up, Scott, and he had received permission from to fish at this. It was a private community called Beach Mountain Lakes near Hazleton, Pennsylvania, and it was a gated community, nice houses around this lake. But he wanted to go fishing at this pond, so we went to this pond fishing, and we were there it was night fishing. It was like late. It was like we left late. It was like 5. Like, I don't think we got there till like 5 o'clock, 5:30, something like that. It was the only time. That was the first time I was ever at a Walmart. We stopped at a Walmart on the way and to pick up some snacks and bait, and then we went fishing. And so we were fishing for hours. We weren't catching anything. This was like in August of 1994, and then it was about, I don't know, probably around 10 o'clock, and I turned around to get a cigarette out of the tackle box, and I noticed these 3 big lights, like looked like headlights, except they were really large. They were like, gigantic, and they were lined up horizontally, and they were moving behind some trees. And then they moved into a clearing, and I noticed that it was just one big object moving toward us then. And I said to my friend Scott, I said, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "I don't know." Right. And so then this thing, it comes within 20 feet of us, of where I was standing, and then just stops momentarily. And my friend shined a flashlight on the bottom of it. And right when he did that, I was like, Scott, we have to get out of here. I mean, this is, I was scared out of my mind. So we start throwing all our stuff into the back of his pickup truck. And as we were doing that, the thing started moving away in a different direction over some trees. And so we're driving down this dirt road, like both of us in shock. And there was at least 20 deer that when we had to stop, we had to wait for them to cross this dirt road. And then we finally got out of there and we drove into Hazleton, which was about 5 minutes away. And we went to a donut shop. I believe it was a Dunkin' Donuts, and and we weren't talking the whole time. We were both in shock, and we both went in there. And I was like, I got a coffee and I sat down. I was like, Scott, that was a UFO. And he's like, I'm not telling anyone. I'm not saying anything. And I still talk to him after all these years. It's 30 years ago, and whenever I talk to him, sometimes I'll bring it up. He's of the same mindset too. That whatever that thing was, there was no sound. It was absolutely silent, and it was only 2.5 stories off the ground. It was as big as a house, and it was within 20 feet. And there's no way that something man-made could operate that way. I mean, with absolutely no sound.
Well, again, what you mentioned, the no sound. In the mid 70s, I was coming back from North Carolina, driving nonstop with my first wife, many. From North Carolina back to Seattle, and we were in the desert of New Mexico, and it was like maybe around 1-ish in the morning. It was clear night, and I had a GTO, and I loved that car because I could go fast, and they had no speed limit, and I was cruising around 100 and some miles an hour, and then all of a sudden, everything around the car lit up, as bright as day, if not brighter, and inside the car it lit up. And I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, it's a police helicopter. I'm going to go to jail because I only had enough money for gas. We drove nonstop from North Carolina to Seattle. I was living on no-dos, if you know what that is.
Yes.
And I was really wired. And I pull off the side of the road and I get out of the car. And I didn't hear the sound of a helicopter. Now, in Vietnam, I was on a lot of helicopters. And no sound. It was dead silence. And the light was so intense it hurt my eyes. And then poof, it was gone like that. So, if these things making noise, I don't think they do.
No, sometimes, Gary, I've read some reports. A lot of people, sometimes there's like some slight noise, or sometimes, like in the case of the Ariel school incident from 1994, some of the school children there in Zimbabwe said that they heard a buzzing sound like bees. And when I heard that, I was thinking about my incident when I was a kid, when I heard that electronic humming sound or bee sound, like whatever that is. I don't know if that's a craft or something else. I have no idea, but I thought it was interesting. You hear some stories, sometimes the craft themselves make a buzzing sound, but like in your experience, like you're talking about, and mine from 1994, nothing, absolutely no sound, Gary, whatsoever.
Now, do you remember what the craft looked like? I mean, was it round? Was it some other type of shape?
Actually, what it looked like, Gary, was from my position, all I could see was the 3 giant lights lined up horizontally, like with space between them. So I never got to see what it looked like. But my friend Scott was in a different position, and he shined the light underneath the thing, and he said it was circular, like a saucer. And then when it moved away, he noticed that, and I noticed how close it was to the trees. Like, I couldn't believe how close it was to the top of the treetops. And then the one thing that my friend noticed was that the tips of the treetops were bending down as this thing moved over it. But it was an incredible experience. That's all I could say. And I know that there's no way, whatever this thing was, it couldn't have been made by mankind. It just couldn't have been. It's impossible to have something that large. I mean, it was as large as a house. It was like a ranch house just hovering there right in front of you, 2.5 stories off the ground only. And there's no sound. And then the way it moved, and it was very, very, it was incredible to see. It was an incredible sight. It was exciting and scary at the same time. I could say that.
You terrified for your life when you saw that?
Yes, I very much was, Gary. I was, I mean, not at first. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then right when my friend shined that flashlight on the bottom of it, I had this idea in my head that this thing was going to land. because by 1994, like it was in the late 80s or early 90s when I became interested in UFOs, because that's when I realized what had happened to me when I was a kid. So I was already starting to watch documentaries on this, and I think by that point I had read about the Pascagoula incident, for instance, right?
With
And
Calvin Parker, yeah.
In my head at the time, I was thinking it was going to land there. That's why I said we got to get out of here, because I was imagining that this thing's going to land right in front of us, and we're going to get dragged in that craft. And that was what scared me, Gary, pretty much.
Well, when you think about it, you just mentioned, Calvin Parker's experience, and we had Calvin Parker on a few times before he passed. Yeah, again, a lot of people that claimed that they were taken aboard a craft, they talk about these whatever they are, they're not really friendly. And they really, when they examine you, they don't care if they're hurting you.
I agree with you, Gary. I mean, obviously, I think that's a concern. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that, because actually in the show that I did yesterday, I talked about that. I mean, I don't think it's right, that we're basically getting treated like guinea pigs. I mean, that's what it feels like. I mean, I've never been hypnotically regressed, but I may have been abducted that night back when I was a kid. And for all I know, maybe there were other times too, but I have no recollection. I know all I know is that there was something unearthly in my bedroom that night when I was a kid, and I know later on in the 90s I had another experience, and there was a witness the second time, right? So I knew I wasn't crazy this time, when I had, because both of us saw it at the same time, and it's. Yeah, if something like that were to happen, I don't think that's right, and I think that's a major concern, and that's something that in all of this disclosure talk, you don't usually hear them talking about this aspect of it, the abduction aspect of it, because that's where the rubber hits the road.
Well,
when it comes to this phenomenon,
Jim, this is what really pisses me off about this whole disclosure movement. Steve Bassett for 15 years saying, "Oh, major disclosure, it's going to happen next month, next week, next 15 years of that crap." But here's the part that gets me. If somebody has been abducted, who do they go to? There's nobody for help. But yet, if you saw a UFO, you can call, MUFON, you can call all these different organizations and report it, but there's no really help. And just think about, people maybe being abducted, taken on a craft, experimented on, seeing other people and hearing people scream of pain and all this stuff, and it's with them the rest of their life. And I've had people on who claim that they were abducted, that now when they go to bed at night, they have a loaded gun next to them on the nightstand because they're terrified. They don't want to go through that again.
Well, that's the sad part about that, Gary, is that I'm not sure a loaded gun's going to make a difference.
No, it's not, but security in our own head. Now, hey, Jim, we need to take this break. So we'll be right back with Jim, and we're going to find out a little bit more. And then we're going to talk about this ET in somebody's backyard. Thank God it wasn't mine. So we'll be right back. Check out our website at nightdreamstalkradio.com. We'll be right back after this.
Seems long before me. I feel confused and hungry. Dark clouds are blocking moonlight. Time is sleeping. Road signs are all against me. Daybreak sorta takes forever. Cars pass and put me down. I'm tired and freezing. I'll find you and I'll hold you in my memory. And once again I'm living in those harmonies. The sweet love that you give, sugar's a long, long way. And I won't forget it. Oh, no.
If you're not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary, go to YouTube and subscribe now.
Why are you not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio on YouTube?
Why are you not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio on YouTube?
Time slips. A haunted office building on a haunted street. A haunted coal town. Mysterious black cats. Unexplained light anomalies. UFOs, UAPs, in the air and on the ground. Bridges in liminal spaces. Cryptids, shamans, and a werewolf. Disclosure. You don't need a ranch in Utah. All this and more happens in rural southwestern Pennsylvania. Now available on Amazon from author Kevin Paul. Politics and the Paranormal in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Read this captivating book as soon as you can by author Kevin Paul. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
And we are back with Jim. Now, Jim, a question I have for you too. Have you ever thought maybe you have been implanted? Have you had anything weird where you go through, going on an aircraft or going into anything and setting off alarms or anything? Have had anything like that happen to you?
Gary, no, it has not. As far as I know, I don't think. I mean, I could be. Who knows? I mean, really, when you think about it, if you have the encounters, I guess it's always possible because a lot of people who do get abducted say that this is something that happens to them a lot of the time. So I wouldn't be surprised. I have thought about. Getting hypnotically regressed sometimes, but I'm afraid to do it because I'm not sure if I want to remember anything more. I'm already convinced that of the reality of what happened. So I don't know if I want to know any more than that. I guess maybe it's a good thing that they blank out your memory on this because I'm not sure I want to remember that kind of stuff, Gary.
Well, too, you have to be careful if you get regressed because if you go to somebody who's not certified. And I've heard this from other people. In fact, I had a retired police detective, a homicide detective on my show back a couple years ago who moved to Mexico, but he wanted to be a hypnotist. He wanted to, another chapter of his life. And he got certified and he was telling me, here's the problem. If you go to somebody who hasn't had the right training, we have all been, from little kids upward, Star Trek, Star Wars, the green eye monster that was made in the 50s. All that is in the back of our brain from watching it growing up. And if you have somebody who's not certified and quite knows how to do it the right way, all those thoughts all of a sudden, or some of those, could become real in your head. And I think that happens.
I'll say this, like if you think about like the Alan Godfrey case from the UK, I believe that was around 1980. He was a police officer who got abducted by aliens, had some missing time. And when he was regressed and he remembered alien beings, but he discounted that because he had started reading books. After his incident with the UFO and aliens, he became interested and read some books, and then when he got hypnotized, he's not sure if it's because of what he read or if it's real memories or what. But I think he was abducted nonetheless, Gary. So, in that case,
I'm quite familiar with that. Again, it does cause problems in your head. But can you imagine that if a person has been abducted, and depending on what they went through, like I said, they have nobody to go to. If you go to your doctor, they're going to say, well, you need to go to a therapist. And then all of a sudden they're going to label you as, well, here, you need this medicine. And that's the problem. There's no place you can sit there and get help. No support groups, no nothing.
Yeah, I think that one of the problems, Gary, is the fact that you're right. There's nowhere to go, and I think this is one of the problems with the why the government doesn't want to disclose the truth about this, because how do you deal with that? Like what kind of answers do you give the public? What kind of advice do you have for them? I mean, I don't know if there is any. I don't know if they could provide anything. I don't think there is any. I don't think there are any answers to this, and that's one of the problems. I mean, how do you stop it from happening? Now, there's some guy. I can't remember his name offhand. I think he's a retired NASA scientist, believe it or not, and he created some sort of helmet. They calls it. It prevents aliens from reading your mind or something. Allegedly, some alien abductees claim it works, but I really don't know if there's anything out there that would really prevent this from occurring.
You mean
I don't think there is.
tinfoil doesn't work?
Tinfoil apparently doesn't work. No, it's something like, it's not tinfoil. I can't remember. Somebody pointed. I actually talked about it in an episode a long time ago, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But it was some sort of I can't remember the name of the material either. It's a soft material, and he tells you how to make them. And it's funny that the guy worked at NASA, and here he is now telling people how to prevent alien abductions. Actually, there's a website. I think he has a website called Stop Alien Abductions.
Well, the only way you can stop it is go move to Mars or something. Here's the other thing you have to really think about. You know, a lot of ufologists I've had on the show for the years, and I had everybody from Dr. Stephen Greer, you name it, they've been on the show. And, you know, one of the questions I usually ask them, if something ever happened, do you think if they came out and said, yes, people are being abducted, yes, this is happening, if we would not have a panic? You remember the old radio show, War of the Worlds? People really freaked out when that came out. That, you know, if they didn't catch the beginning to find out it was a radio play, they were panicking. You know, there was a farmer, it killed his wife and kid. There was people that jumped out of a building in my own state of Washington in concrete. People were walking at the same time that play started. All of a sudden the power went out. So they got out there with their guns looking for aliens, thinking that, the aliens were coming to get them. People were panicking. Now, if they came out and told us the truth, whatever that is, and say, yes, we can't protect you. We can't protect any of our population. If they want to take you, we can't stop it. A lot of people tell me that nobody would panic. They would accept it. I would panic. I would go under my bed. Seriously.
Well, Gary, I honestly, I don't think there would. I mean, I think we're a little bit more sophisticated at this point in time. I mean, if you think about 1947, it was understandable why, in my viewpoint, why they would cover it up at that point. I think after Roswell happened, I think that's when the cover-up began. I believe Roswell most certainly occurred. I did enough research on this to know that there's no question about it as far as I'm concerned. There's been excellent books written by people like Kevin Randall, Donald Schmitt, Thomas Carey. They did a lot of research on this. There's no question about it. I could understand in 1947 why they would decide that, wait, we can't tell the public about this. And one of the considerations probably was the fact of that the War of the Worlds 1938 broadcast had people panicking. But now I don't think that's the case. I think people are warmed up enough to this idea of alien abductions after all these decades, because they've been hearing about it since the 1960s, and now everybody knows about it.
Yeah, I think, Jim, you're right to a certain extent. You know, I think the people would accept, yes, we're being visited and UFOs are coming. But from the other standpoint, that if the government came out and was honest and said, we can't protect you, that you or your loved ones could be taken from your home or going to work or whatever, we can't stop it. You're going to have a certain amount of population that's going to freak out. It's no way you wouldn't. And that is the scary part. Again, I think that's one of the reasons why they're not telling us the truth.
Yes, I think it could be part of the reason. I mean, I'm not sure what their reasoning is, to be quite honest. I think most of it has to deal with the reverse engineering and the Cold War that's going on between them and the United States and other countries who are trying to reverse engineer recovered craft. I think that's probably the biggest reason. But I'm sure a consideration is the potential panic. But I mean, I think there might be some, but the government can't protect you from getting mauled by a bear in the woods or getting eaten alive by a shark when you're swimming in the ocean. I mean, there's just a lot of things that could happen to us at any given moment or in any situation where,
Yeah, but I don't have to worry about a bus running over me at a bus stop out of my bed. I don't have to worry about, something grabbing me and taking me, or taking my wife, which, God, sometimes I wish they would, and abducting us. But that's the whole point. And here's the other thing, Jim, think about this. If you have a government, any government that has lied to the population about any subject for a period of many decades, if they come with the truth now, nobody is going to believe that government again on anything they say.
Gary, I'll tell you, it's funny you brought this up because I did a different show recently where I talked about that. I asked that question, what's the Pentagon, how are they going to justify lying for 80 years? I mean, at some point, I think they're going to have to either that, or they're just going to have to pretend that they just didn't know about this until 2003 when the David Fravor had the Tic Tac incident. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do if they're going to just try to make all the other stuff from the past, from the long past, just go away and pretend it didn't never happen, or do they just? I mean, at some point, they're going to have to tell the truth, and I think what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to say something to the effect of, "This is why we decided to keep this from the public, and I hope that you understand." I mean, they're going to have to present something, and they're going to have to do it at some point. It's inevitable at this. I think, and they just keep dragging it out. And it's been dragged out now for almost 80 years, and it needs to come to an end. I think some people, are going to understand. I understand. I don't know. I think it should have been disclosed.
Yeah, but you're
earlier.
Into it. How about the little old lady down the street that knows nothing about UFOs? There's a lot of people out there that really don't. They're in their own little world. So all of a sudden, if they find out, oh my God, we could be invaded. Here's the point. They don't even tell us if these things are friendly or foe. They don't tell us anything. But they do say it's a national security issue. Now, we got to move along because we only got a few minutes left. What happened in Las Vegas in somebody's backyard?
Well, what happened there was something came down from the sky, and there were alien beings that exited, whatever it was, because a crime scene reconstruction expert named Scott Roeder from Ohio, he examined video, a 1 minute and 41 second long video that was filmed on a cell phone by one of the family members of the Kenmore family of Las Vegas. That's a pseudonym, by the way. There was something landed in their yard. They called 911. They reported that there were 8 to 10 foot tall alien creatures in their yard. They were definitely not human, they stated. They were terrified, the family. Police showed up, and by the time the police showed up, these things, whatever they were gone. But an examination of the video at first, when you first looked at it, you can't really see anything. You don't know what you're looking for. But Scott Roeder, a crime scene reconstruction expert, he looked at it, and he determined that the video was not tampered with. There was no CGI in it, and he also determined that there were alien creatures in it, 8 to 10 foot tall creatures, and among other things we later discovered. There's a gray alien in it, clearly. As far as I'm concerned, this is what I've been trying to talk about for over 6 months now. It's proof. I mean, we actually have the proof now. Everyone should know this, that we actually have the proof that shows that we are definitely not alone. There's no more wondering about it as far as anyone should be concerned, because when you look at the evidence that's on that video, you look at Scott Roeder's presentation on this, his explanation for it. These aliens creatures, they were using some kind of cloaking technology. And there's a face that appears above a fence. I mean, there's a lot to this story. It's very in depth. I mean, there's a lot of details to this, and I've been trying to talk about it, over different episodes because there's so much to it. And but I've identified several creatures in there. There's more than just these tall ones that they actually saw, that they told police about. There was actually there's an obvious gray being that shows up, and as far as anyone should be concerned, it proves that we're not alone. and I've done multiple shows on this on my podcast. And I think that no one in the UFO community, a lot of the big names they don't want to talk about it. A lot of the disclosure advocates, for whatever reason, debunkers are refusing to try to debunk it. People like Mick West, he was actually recently offered $5,000 from Scott Roeder, the crime scene reconstruction expert, to do an analysis on this, and he refused. Because he cannot debunk it. It actually shows that there are aliens here. And it's too late now. The evidence is out there for people to see. That video exists on the internet, and anyone who looks at it, I recommend for people to examine the video themselves in their video editing programs, and they'll see the truth. And when they look at it, I mean, there are aliens there. And there's, I think as far as I'm concerned, anyone who sits down and tries to absorb the totality of the evidence that was produced from that Las Vegas alien incident are going to walk away and realizing that we now have the proof that shows that we're not alone. Now, of course, this is not going to be something that I would imagine that's going to be coming up at the upcoming November 13th hearing in the House, at the subcommittee hearing. And because, I mean, they're more, I think what's happening here, I think it's possibly a slow disclosure process. That's why we're having these hearings in the House. That's why you have whistleblowers stepping up. They're talking about craft that are, could cause issues for aircraft that's in the sky. They pose dangers to they're showing up over military installations. It's a slow disclosure. They're willing to go that far, but you never hear these people talking about the pilots of these crafts. We actually have the proof now. This is that shows them, and when you see them, you realize, wow, these things meet the same descriptions as the creatures that people have been talking about for decades. You could see the tall insect, the 8 to 10 foot tall ones that are in this video. They meet the description of the tall insectoid, the praying mantis type beings. And then there's a short gray alien that there's no question about it. When you see it, it's undeniable. And we know that the video wasn't tampered with. There's no CGI involved here. And I can't even begin to tell you how strange this video is when you look at this. I mean, when I first looked at it, I didn't even know what I was looking at. I didn't know what I was looking for, but after time, when you look at it, you realize this is unbelievable, but yet it's real, and there's no denying it now. And I don't know how anyone could deny it after they see this.
Well, I've seen it, and I've watched it dozens and dozens of times, and I have a photography background. I've been, like I said, in broadcasting. I got behind a microphone at 12 years old. But at 6 years old, I got into photography. And photography and video and all that has been my passion my whole life as a hobby and as, income at one point. And here's the thing. I looked at that. I couldn't debunk it, and certain people out there have debunked it. The news media is one that's really come out and debunked that.
Yeah, they haven't, though. I mean, how did they do? I mean, I haven't seen any scientific refutation to the analysis that Scott Roeder made to this. No one will do it. I mean, they'll say things like, for instance, Scott Roeder had appeared on News Nation earlier this year, and he was also sitting there alongside Ben Hansen during this interview, and Ben Hansen said that. It's a leap that this shows aliens. Well, Scott Roeder's the expert here. I mean, and this guy's just poo-pooing it right out of the gate. I mean, that's not debunking. That's just stating it's too much of a leap. Hansen didn't provide any sort of scientific analysis to back up what he's stating. Roeder's the expert. Him and his team analyzed the video. They made this determination. He just came out a report recently on this. I actually sent the letter to the Pentagon in June, alerting them to this. They did not respond. I do not expect them to respond. I sent them different links showing them the evidence and the aliens that you see in the video. Those people, that family was not lying, although many people were trying to claim it was a hoax without any evidence that it was a hoax. I mean, it just. And here we are after all this time. The family actually just recently moved out of that house because after the incident happened, the months afterward, they were experiencing, they claimed, poltergeist activity. And I have no reason to not believe them with regard to that, because that family, those family members, 3 of those 4 family members said they saw it. The father and the 2 sons. They went on Inside Edition last September. They drew pictures of what they saw. And then when you look at that video, you could see these things. The same thing that they drew. You see these things in that video. They're there. One of the strangest aspects of it, the one creature that shows up whose face appears above a fence momentarily, you could semi-transparent. And Scott Roeder determined that 66% of the pixels in that area of the video were deleted, and he has no explanation for that. And what's strange about that is in 2010, Bruce Maccabee's wife, Jan, had a similar experience. She was out bow hunting in Ohio. Right. And she saw something in the trees. It looked like a camouflaged, cloaked kind of alien creature moving from one tree to another. And she snapped a picture of it. And when Bruce Maccabee, the optical physicist, who recently passed away, looked at that video, he couldn't understand that the picture that she took. It was a blurry mess, and he determined that it had an impossible resolution that the camera did not offer. Right. And we did the math on that, and it turned out that 66% of the pixels were missing in that picture, in that image. So there's a correlation there, I believe.
Bruce told me too, because he was on our show quite a few times through the years, too, that it kind of, like she said, it like the movie Predator.
Yes. Gary, yep.
So, and she's not the only one. There's been other people who claimed the same thing. We had a person who was a law enforcement park ranger who later, before he retired, was actually in charge of a couple forest districts for the country, for the Forest Service. And he told us again that other rangers, including himself, saw entities that kind of looked like the Predator that were cloaking out in the bushes or out in the trees.
And Gary, it's not too fantastic. I mean, I think that we're working on invisibility technology ourselves, so it's not so fantastic that some alien civilization has figured this kind of thing out. And obviously, in that video, you watch that. There's so many different elements to that video. There's so many different instances where there's alien faces that are appearing, and it becomes undeniable. I mean, in one part of the video, you see something standing by this front loader, and it looks just like the one of the aliens that the people in the Allagash 4 had seen back in 1976 when they're on this wilderness adventure, 4 friends camping in the Maine wilderness there in Allagash. And it looks, there was one of the drawings that they drew. It looks, you put it side by side. I did a show about this just on that alone. You put those images side by side. It looks like the same exact thing. But the most amazing part of the video, in my mind, this is just my personal preference. There, at one section of that video, there's a little gray alien. I mean, it meets you could see it. It actually turns its head. It pokes its head up. It shows up, and then somehow it just becomes distorted and then disappears. But it's there. It looks like it's solid for a few seconds. For a few seconds, it becomes solid. You can see it. There's no question about it, and then it disappears. I mean, it proves that we're not alone. And I mean, this family they called 911. People in 4 states saw the object falling from the sky. Police officers. It was captured on various different video sources. It was on a police body cam. There was a video of a ring camera from someone's door that actually captured the sound of it too as it came down. It was making an oscillating mechanical sound. That's not usual for meteors. There were reports of UFOs hovering over the area where the thing fell. When it landed, there was a woman from Arizona who saw the object falling. She actually had contacted the American Meteor Society that night to report that she saw this object falling from the sky north of her position into Nevada. And she said that for an hour now, there were 2 UFOs flying around where this thing landed. And I put out the idea that what probably likely happened here, it doesn't make me right, what might have happened here is that maybe there was some sort of an issue with this craft, and that's why I had to make an emergency landing in this backyard. a hard landing, and the witnesses said it was blue and green when it was coming down, and then then there was red sparks, and when the object hit the ground, you couldn't see anything. It looked all blurry, according to one of the witnesses, like it was invisible. The craft itself was invisible. Did those 2 UFOs show up and basically get it out of there along with the aliens before the police showed up? And then, of course, you have the police showing up, and the family members are obviously upset and all stunned about what just happened. And they maintain their story for all this time. There have been people that come out, like Doug Papa, the original local podcaster from Las Vegas, who was the one who originally reported on the story. But then at one point he said it was a hoax, and but he didn't provide any evidence to really back up his hoax claim. And these people still maintain the story. And Scott Roeder's actually he was just on a show in Japan. Japan's been interested in it. They just did a show. It's one of their biggest shows in Japan. I don't know what the name of it is offhand, but he just did a show in Japan talking about this case. To me, it's the biggest case of all time, as far as anyone should be concerned, because it shows the creatures themselves. So I don't know what else anybody needs at this point. Of course, I think some people look at it and they're having some sort of ontological shock. I think some other people just don't want to admit to it. The government has not responded to the email that I sent. I sent a letter to.
They're not going to. They're not going to.
No, I sent it to the Department of Defense as well as the Department of Energy, courtesy copy. And yeah, they're not going to, because what could they say? They can't deny it. They can't debunk it. Nobody could debunk it. Mick West won't even try to debunk it. He actually he actually stated last when he appeared on Inside Edition last September, when he was asked for a comment on it, and he told Inside Edition he thinks it could have been raccoons or coyotes. That's not what it is. You could see these alien creatures there, and describe, and they meet the description of what the people said they saw. So I don't know what else anybody needs at this point. You have Scott Roeder, who is a world-renowned crime scene reconstruction expert with over 30 years of experience in video analysis, along with his expert team, who determined the video wasn't tampered with, and that there were beings there. There are things in that yard that were in the real world environment with the Kenmore family that night. So we have the proof now. So there's no excuses as far as anyone should be concerned. And I've been trying to put this message out on my podcast for over 6 months at this point.
Well, that's the whole problem. You can have proof, but you're going to have, I hate to say it, the powers to be is not going to acknowledge it. They absolutely will not acknowledge it.
No.
And what will happen, because I've been around this so long, Jim, that the more you push for it, they're going to come back on you, and you'll start noted as a debunker. Seriously, that's what's going to happen. I've seen this so many times with other people I know in the industry, and you can have proof. Like I had proof on certain things, and again, I got harassed for years over it.
Well, we could sit here and talk about, there's some cases out there that seem that I don't see how you could deny them, like the Turkey UFO case, or the Ariel school incident, or the Westall school incident. There's so many cases where there's a lot of witnesses involved, or there's evidence. There's a lot of landing trace cases that the late Ted Phillips would investigate. But when it comes to this case, what makes the Las Vegas case stand out from all of them is that anyone who sits down and absorbs the totality of the evidence that surrounds this case, they're going to walk away knowing that we're not alone. They could say whatever they want about me. They could do whatever. It doesn't matter. That means nothing to me. It's up to them. Anyone who wants to know the truth, all they need to do is they could take that video themselves, put it in their own little video editing program, and look for the evidence themselves, and they will find it, because there are alien creatures in that video, and it becomes undeniable. There's no way, when you look at it, you realize, wow, this This is not something that somebody could have CGI'd in the first place. Nobody could have dreamed up doing something like this. It's not too good to be true. It's you don't see it at first. When you first look at the video, I looked at the video initially. I couldn't see anything. And then Scott Roeder, he initially contacted me June of last year, and he said he wanted to look at the video. He likes my podcast because I mentioned it I did a couple of shows on it initially when the story first broke, and then he came on. He called me up and he said he wanted to come on my show. He said he's going to do a examination of the video. And he initially found last year he could see the creature. He identified a movement of something chasing them out of the yard and how the family all reacted. And then earlier this year, in March, I had received a message from one of my subscribers on YouTube, Julia June from New York, and she pointed out this head over the fence. So I did a video on that. And when Scott Roeder saw that, he was like, I never noticed that before. So he got his team, and they all looked at it, and he that's when he contacted me. He said, he told me that this proves it. This actually proves that there was something there, and there's no denying it anymore. And then we got together. We did a big show on April 2nd called Vindication Day. That was the first time. And then over the months since then, I've been presenting other aliens that we've discovered in the video, and some other podcasters out there and YouTubers have pointed out some of these aliens too. Not just me. There's other people out there talking about it too. But it's absolutely undeniable to people. I mean, there's no more argument as far as I'm concerned, and yet there is. A lot of people in the UFO disclosure movement aren't talking about it, and it's very strange. I think it's because they know it's too much. They don't want to. That's catastrophic, perhaps, in their minds.
Well, see, if the government came out and actually even admitted to it, then if whatever they're trying to do with all these hearings and stuff, and as you know, the CIA, the Pentagon, and all these other departments, DOD, all say that none of this stuff exists, it's going to put a thorn in their butt. And then they're going to have to come out and start leveling with people, and they don't want to do that. Now, our second guest was supposed to come on. If you want to hang on for another 15 minutes, we can do that, if that's up to you. And maybe we can take a couple calls, Jim.
Okay, Gary, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll be right back after this break with Jim, and stay tuned. And again, you ought to check out that video. When we bring him back, we'll get where you can actually watch it. I watched it. It's rather intriguing, I can tell you that much. We'll be right back. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Available now. Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. This is the most comprehensive and in-depth examination of Bigfoot ever written. How did Bigfoot in North America, the Yowie in Australia, and the Woodwoes, Britain's Bigfoot, get to where they are today? Mike Dupler connects the dots, and the conclusions are incredible. This changes everything. Don't be left out in the woods, in the cold, not knowing. Read Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. Available now on Amazon. time slips. A haunted office building on a haunted street. A haunted coal town. Mysterious black cats. Unexplained light anomalies. UFOs, UAPs in the air and on the ground. Bridges in liminal spaces. Cryptids, shamans, and a werewolf. Disclosure: you don't need a ranch in Utah. All this and more happens in rural southwestern Pennsylvania. Coming soon from Haunted Hills and Hollows 1 and 2 author Kevin Paul, Politics and the Paranormal in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Available this fall on Amazon and at other fine booksellers. Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio with the legendary Gary Anderson. From UFOs to Bigfoot and everything in between, we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Join us for one of the fastest growing shows in the world of the unknown.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, thank you, John Cleese. I'm glad you listened to the show also. Well, we're back with Jim. And again, a lot of things when it comes to disclosure, people recording stuff, people have gotten really good images of UFOs. We have the TikTok, we got all this type of stuff. And you know what? They still debunk it. The Pentagon, the CIA, the DOD. I had a friend who was high up in the DOD. And if you try to talk to him about this, what he tells me is, don't talk about it. And, we had a thing that me and the producer noticed about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. Wasn't it, JC, when we were talking something I guess we shouldn't have talked about? And about a half an hour later, I had a military helicopter hovering over our compound.
You did, and you got an email that said 4 words, just so you know.
That was a good, scary warning. You know that, Jim. Now, we got a caller. Who do we have?
This is Tom.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing this evening?
Reasonably well, sir. And you?
I'm alive. Of course, I had a mini stroke last night. I'm surprised I was able to do the show here tonight. Yeah, well, when you get old, like 95 years old, trying to do a show like this, what do you think can happen? You got a question for Jim?
Yes, I do. I had an experience many years ago where it was probably about 2 a.m. It was in the summertime, and I took my dog out for a walk, and I have a large open area in the back of my property. And off to the left side of my head, I saw a object. It looked like a layer cake on top of a platter. It was fluorescent green. It was very large. It went to the southern, or actually the eastern horizon, and it stopped over the tree line. And I've always wondered if it was probably there for a few seconds, and then it made like a Z pattern and disappeared. And I've always wondered whether or not whatever was piloting that craft, whatever intelligence was on there, had communicated with me telepathically. I can't say. But my question for your guest is, has he ever had an experience like that, or did he ever feel that, not necessarily verbally, but telepathic communication was in vogue for him?
No, actually I did. I don't think so. I mean, I've been thinking about this sometimes, when I was a kid and I had that experience with the sound, I wonder sometimes, what if that was them communicating and that's what it sounded like to me. It was like this humming sound. But I don't know. But the weird thing was when and later on when I had my UFO experience, which sounds similar to what you had, my friend shined that flashlight on there. Like all of a sudden, that's right when he did that. That's when I was like, we got to get out of here. That's so maybe but I don't think so. I can't say for sure. I don't think I had any sort of telepathic communication. I could say with certainty.
Okay, thank you.
Can't hear you, Gary.
Oh, I forgot. I got so excited there. I forgot to push the unmute button. I'm getting old. But if you really think about this, what can we do to really get this movement going? I mean, you can talk about it on your podcast. I can talk about it on my show. And everybody else seems to talk about it, but it's still kind of being hung up.
Here's what I think, Gary. I think that, I think we just keep pushing this. And I that's one of the reasons why I've not stopped with the Las Vegas alien stuff. In April, when Roeder made his, he came on my podcast, we talked about it. I thought everyone was going to talk about this. I thought this is it. We finally made it. We made it. We have the proof now. It can't be done. There's no denying it anymore. I thought we were going to step into a new age, but it didn't happen. Like you said, they'll just try to debunk it or they won't say anything. I think you just keep talking about it. I think over time, that video is out there, and as more time goes on, more and more people will see it, more and more people will absorb it, and they'll realize that this shows that there's something here. I mean, when they look at it with their own eyes, I mean, it becomes undeniable, and everything else that surrounds that story. It's not just the video itself; it's the 911 call. It's all of it, and I just think my part as far as how I'm handling this, I keep bringing it up, not every show, but a lot of shows I talk about it. I incorporate it into just about all of my episodes anymore because it proves it. It's unlike anything else. Maybe if those Peru alien corpses turn out to be something, though, I mean, that could be something, but that might prove that there was something here in the long past. That video from Vegas shows that there's something here in the here and the now, and it conforms with a lot of the stories that we've heard over the years about aliens and what they look like, and the gang was all there. I mean, you had what it looks like for sure, the tall mantis kind, the short grays, perhaps even taller grays, and it looks like there was a reptilian there too, potentially. So as far as I'm concerned, that's how I'm going to handle it. I mean, all I could do is what I can do, and maybe eventually the word will get out to people and they'll take it more seriously.
Well, I hope so, because, again, if all the people somehow had a way to communicate with each other, to create a network, people that have seen these things, people that have been abducted, and all that. But, like I said earlier in the show, you have no place to go. You really don't. You can call up MoveOn. Okay, they're going to send somebody out as a hobby, because most of the people work with MoveOn, they do it as a hobby. Let's face it. And, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's the whole problem. The government, if they want to have disclosure, they need to create a department where we can actually go to them and be taken serious and say, yes, I had an encounter. I was abducted, or I saw this craft. It was there at such and such time, or I seen these beings. But the problem is now, if you try to do that, they label you as a nutcase. Still, today, in 2024, going back years ago when I first started talking about this, because I was even talking about this type of stuff before my friend Art Bell was, people would look at you if you said, well, I saw a UFO. And people would look at you and step back from you, and they look at you like from your feet to your face. And you know what they were thinking, like, oh my God, this guy's crazy. Now, it's not as bad anymore, but yet you still get that problem as labeled that.
Yes, Gary. And it's funny, like I talked about in the story with my friend when we were fishing, after it was all said and done, after he says his first reaction was, I'm not telling anyone, I'm not saying anything. And that was his first reaction, because he knew in 1994 that if you tell anybody this, they're going to think you're nuts. But the problem is that we both saw it, but you're afraid about the getting ridiculed. And that's one of the things that happens all the time, especially back then. But since 2017, things have gotten better. Since that New York Times article and the leaked Pentagon videos, I'm of the position, I'm of the opinion at this point that I don't care. Obviously, you don't care. I mean, there's some of us who just don't care. We're going to talk about this. We know it's real. I know it's real. I had my own experiences, and we have the proof now to back it all up. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the people who aren't accepting this, they're the ones who are crazy. In fact, back in 2003, when I was working in Iowa, I actually wrote a column once, and basically I was stating in that column that the people who don't accept it are crazy. I was thinking that back then, and I still think it today. I mean, that's over 20 years ago, and I think that's how it should be, because it's real. I know it's real personally, and there was enough evidence by 2003. There was enough evidence by in the early 1950s. At that point, you look at the French UFO wave. How could anyone write all that off? I mean, there's just so many different cases. It's crazy not to accept it. It's like you're denying reality. That's what people are doing. Well, I just want to bring up one other point, because you were talking earlier, Gary, about that a panic would happen. Now, what happens here, though, when you think about it, like I was just talking about a case from 1989 in my previous show where these two women were abducted and then they got hypnotized, but they were fine. They never thought about UFOs ever before, and then they got abducted, and then they couldn't understand what happened with they lost 2 hours of time, and then they went and got they eventually that led them to must have been because they saw a UFO. So they talked to some UFO researchers. They got hypnotized, and then they remembered it all. But they went on with their lives. They were okay. I think people will be okay with it, as for the most part. I mean, people are numb more these days than they were in the past. I still think
I don't know. I've been in this so long. I think you're going to have a certain people that are into the subject. Okay, those people that are into the subject, yes, they're going to be happy. They're going to accept it. But the people who have denied it all these years, which is probably majority of the population, if depending on how it happened, if you have Dr. Greer talks about a false flag or something, a scenario that could cause people to panic. And here's the thing: the average person, if they all of a sudden were told the truth, I'm talking to people that are non-believers. There's so many people out there that think that, oh my God, of all the galaxies, solar system, and everything out there with the billions and billions of stars and planets, this is the only one that has human life on it. No other planet has any life on it. We're the only one. We're the only intelligent one. Here's the problem. Those are the ones that are going to panic.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, Gary, then becomes, do we just keep lying to ourselves forever? I mean, when do we finally face up to the reality? I mean, I don't know. I mean, when's the best time? 100 years from now? Do we wait another 100 years before
it depends
tell the
on
rest of the people, or do we just continue with the human race like this?
It depends on what the government does. Here's the thing. I got so frustrated here a couple months ago. I called up my local congressman and actually talked to him, believe it or not. And I said, well, what's going on about this disclosure movement? He laughed at me for about 3 minutes. And he said, look, there's just a few radicals. And if you look how many people are in Congress. And he said, it's just a small fraction of radicals. That's what he said. He said, all they're trying to do is appease their people who they represent. That's all he said that it's just a way to blow steam off. And I took that and I'm going, oh my God, that's how you think about it? And I asked him, I said, well, how about the Congress and senators? He said, they don't give a crap. That's exactly what he said to me.
Well, actually, in a way, I have to agree with him, Gary, because I don't know if they give a crap about anything.
I don't think they do.
No, they don't give I don't think they care about anything. But yeah, I mean, they are. You have some top names. You have the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. You have the Tim Burchett in the House. You got all these other. It's a bipartisan group of people trying to push this. Kirsten Gillibrand. I mean, they're trying to push. They're the ones presenting this stuff. They must have seen something behind the scenes in one of their skiffs where that made them realize, wow, I guess we better start talking about disclosure, or maybe this is the slow disclosure. It's all part of the slow disclosure process.
I don't know, but
I
Jim,
don't know either.
I'm going to take you back in time, 1947. Congress had meetings about UFOs back then, and then in the 50s and the 60s, and nothing ever came about it. I think what happens is the news media, because you were a news reporter, okay. And think about it. The news media jumps into it for a while because they jump into what is hot. When it cools down, they jump into another subject and another subject. You know, first it was the wall, then it was this, then it was that. You know, they jump into it. And after a while, we go through this cycle because like I said, I've done this so many years. It goes from UFOs. Then after so many years, it changes away on like alternative radio. Then it goes to like Bigfoot. Then it goes into ghost hunting. Then it goes into other subjects like Earth changes, and it keeps changing. You know, it goes through cycles. We're in the cycle right now of disclosure movement. We got Hollywood actors. I've had them on the show trying to get, you know, disclosure information out. Thomas Jane, who's a well-known actor, you know, The Fog, Deep Blue Sea, and you know, he's in countless movies. He's been a regular on our show. I mean, a lot of people are trying to get this out, but we're running against a brick wall.
Well, I'll say this, Gary. I would suggest, I mean, if there's anybody out there, if there's celebrities out there, people with a lot more clout than someone like me, what they should do is they should latch on to the Las Vegas alien stuff and start telling people about it, because if they do, then this will all come to a conclusion. Like, for instance, like there's the meeting on the November 13th. If Lou Elizondo or whoever's testifying were to make a presentation on that, or if Congress were to invite someone like Scott Roeder to testify at one of these UAP hearings, this will all be a done deal right then and there, because everyone in the whole world would walk away realizing, oh my God, there is something here. It is real, and it's what do you have to? Then the Pentagon will have to be forced to answer questions. They would have to answer. They would have to say, you didn't know anything about this. There's beings landing in someone's backyard, a family's backyard. You don't know anything about these things. They would be put into a position at that point that they would have to respond. One way or the other. They'd have to say, well, we don't believe it's real, or something to that effect. And I don't think they can do that, though. When you look at that evidence, if you do that, then you're going to look like you're lying. And no one's going to believe you because once anyone absorbs the totality of that evidence, they're going to realize that anyone who says it's not real are either lying, or they're just not facing the reality of it, or they're going through some sort of an ontological shock or something. So I think that's where people should be going if they want to get this over with. They should be focusing on that at this point, because that proves it and there's no denying it.
Well, what people need to do is send that MP3 file or the clip to their congressman and say, hey, check this out. That's all. You know, I think if people, you know, would do more of contacting their congressman or the congressman that's involved in this, you know, hearing, and say, hey, explain this, we might get more. So maybe that's when on your podcast, that's something you should do. Tell your listeners that they should send those clips to them and harass their congressman about it, and say, we want answers. Because that's the only way we're going to get answers. That's the only way they're going to respond. If it's a small group of people, you know, responding to the congressman about this, we're not going to get anywhere. Yeah. You can talk about it all you want. It takes the action of actually saying, here's proof. Now debunk it or tell us the truth.
Exactly, Gary. Yep.
Now, what can you tell about your show? When can they find it? How often is it on? And where can they find it at?
It's actually I have several episodes on a week. It's called the podcast is called Extraterrestrial Reality, and it's on my YouTube channel is called QUIRK Zone, And my Spotify channel is called UFO-Extraterrestrial Reality. And also it's all, there are video versions on Spotify and YouTube. And then it's also available on a myriad of other platforms as well, like Amazon and things like that. So there's other podcasts that are have it on, but it's I upload to Spotify and to YouTube, and on QUIRK Zone on YouTube and on UFO Extraterrestrial Reality on Spotify. And I have a lot of episodes over the past 6-7 months with regard to the Las Vegas alien case. And I'm sure that anyone who were to check some of those videos out, they're going to realize that, oh wow, this is the proof that we were waiting for, if you haven't seen it already.
Well, it makes you. I'll be honest with you. When you watch the video, it makes you wonder, and that's the beautiful thing about it. It makes you wonder what is going on.
Yeah. I mean, there's no explanation for it. It's the strangest things, some of the strangest imagery I've ever seen in my life. It's unexplainable. It's there's too many instances in that video where you see alien faces where it becomes, well, this can't be just pareidolia or something like that. I mean, there are things going on here that defy explanation, and it only brings you to one conclusion at the end of it, is like, these people were telling the truth. They said there were aliens in the backyard. There are aliens in this video. So obviously, and they're not going to call 911 and risk going to jail over making a phony 911 call either.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Hey, Jim, I want to thank you so much for even hanging on the extra time. And again, everybody check out his podcasts, both on the apps and on YouTube. Hey, Jim, you have a great weekend, will you?
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate you for having me on.
Okay, my friend. You take care.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye. Well, JC, we got some great guests lined up, don't we, when it comes to UFOs and stuff like that?
We do. As a matter of fact, starting next Wednesday, we have Mr. Richard Beckwith come on. Now, he is, I believe, a politician from Wyoming, but not only that, he is also the state director of MUFON, and he's done many years of research and investigation into, UFOs in many different areas, not just Wyoming.
Yeah, but we got a lot of great guests lined up for the next 2 months covering this subject. And again, the only way we're going to get disclosure, if you want real disclosure, you got to constantly send emails to your congressman. I do. I mean, like a couple times a week. I want to know the truth. I want to know what's out there. I want to know if I have to get more barbecue sauce because I've been dipping into it. But, again, are they friendly? Are they full? Again, I think we're being visited by multiple entities. So yeah. I don't know. That's another thing. I want to apologize. Rita Lee was supposed to be on at 8:00. For some reason, you haven't been able to trace her down, have you?
No, her assistant didn't even know what was going on. So it's kind of, I hope she's okay. So we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the last time she was supposed to have been on, she ended up in the hospital. So we're hoping that doesn't happen. If anybody wants to call in, I'm going to put up the number again. We can take 1 or 2 calls, and then I'm going to sign off. And all that. So again, I watched the video. I'm on the wall on the video, to be honest with you. I want to believe it's real. That's all I can say. But I don't know. Have you seen the video?
I have seen it. You know what else is kind of peculiar that kind of coincides with this, and I don't think it's just a coincidence because it'd be awful weird. There is the policeman body cams that they can see, like a green, I don't know, it looks like a meteorite or a UFO coming through the air, through the sky. Did you see that? That's connected with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a lot of stuff going together there. Another case that was kind of bizarre like that was that one in Miami. But this one stands out a little above it because you got police involved that's got body cam, and like he said, and I seen the video. Listen, these people had their revolvers and pistols out in their hands. They were
like that's going to protect you.
I know.
If you sat there and pointed a gun at one of these entities, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go zap, and you're gone. You're like dust.
Yeah, you don't know. Listen. They're
going to defend themselves.
Well, yeah, their technology.
Could you imagine though? They land in your backyard and they knock on your door saying, "Hey, what do you got for dinner?"
Yeah, or how about this one? If they knock,
you got any humane?
And you answer, and they say, "We're here to serve man."
That could be rather interesting too. That's like I said. Do you have any humane?
Yeah, how would you take that answer? You'd be a little hesitant to want to hear part 2 of that.
Yeah. Well, do you got anything exciting planned here this weekend?
Let's see what is going on. Well, no, it's too cold to fish, but too hot to do anything else. So you know what? Not much going on. I'm just going to enjoy the weekend and just do some housework and yard work because it's been awful dry. And yesterday or this morning, I should say, seems like yesterday, it was hugely foggy. So I got some great shots, and it's that kind of year.
Yeah, you were at that cemetery again, weren't you?
I was.
You're a peeping Tom at that cemetery. I just know it.
I was necromancing around. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like cemeteries. You know that. They're eerie.
Oh, you ought to see. You want to see the pictures I took from the one behind my house. My goodness.
Yeah. Hey, we got a caller. Let's take this caller.
All right.
Okay. Give me a second. Let's see who it is. I got this funny ESP. You know that. Who do we have?
Gary, it's your friend from southern Saskatchewan.
Well,
Take one guess.
I know who you are. Are you staying out of trouble? Have you seen any aliens lately? No, not from south of the border.
No, I've been watching the stock market since the presidential stuff. That's been pretty kind of exciting up here.
Yeah, the stock market is going to go up for a while, and then it's going to go... Trust me.
Well, I had a few people that are like, let's buy Trump stocks. I was like, no, don't do it. It's like there's nothing backing it up. So I went to crypto. So it's been a little bit more profitable.
Yeah, you know what? If I could go back in time, I would buy gold by the pound.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking. Silver and stuff too. I work for Canada Post, and I look at the Canadian Mint, and they're putting out some nice silver, and I don't know. Now I'm looking at rare earth stocks. That's what I was gonna What's the American take now? What's going on? Can I immigrate to America? Am I going to be screwed now that Trump's in power?
I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this. Go buy stock in Coca-Cola. You know what they've been doing? In Washington State, where I'm at, in parts of Washington, they've been buying water rights like mad. Isn't that kind of strange? You know what they're planning for is the future when there isn't any water, they can gouge you.
Yeah, well, I have a theory about this because it's all going superconducting stuff and all these IBM plants and all that stuff happening. They need water somehow to cool the systems. So they're building these plants, they're feeding from the rivers, they're doing all this stuff. And the other thing that I got smart on is southern Saskatchewan. They started building helium plants a couple years ago down south, close to the border. And they're not up and running yet, but they're pumping stuff in there. And, it's like you're telling people, I'm like, Elon and everybody keeps talking about plasma and helium and propulsions. And, I think buying those penny stocks right now, too, is kind of smart and sit on it. But yeah, hello, America, and hi, James, and everybody else that's awake.
Yeah, well, we got a few people, I tell you that. Since you were on last, have you noticed how many people, on the app side, we're pulling about 1 million downloads per episode. But on YouTube, on YouTube, have you noticed how many people are subscribed to our channel now?
I don't. I know because I remember being in the top 3 with Barb and Tom.
Well, there's 100.
It's been a few years, Gary. It's been a few years. Yeah, totally. I'm #1 fan, definitely.
Yeah,
you're literally the only podcast that I watch out of 25 years that I shut off 30 of them.
Yeah,
and I literally only tune into you on the weekend. So
well, thank you. But we're up to 179,000 subscribers on YouTube.
I know. It's amazing. It's
but you know what?
Awesome to watch.
Here's the funny thing, statistics. YouTube sent me my statistics. Do you know what the average age group that watches my YouTube channel? Take a guess.
Well, I'm 51 in pretty soon next
Well, you're
week,
not
so
in it.
I don't know.
You're not in it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Oh, shit.
You have to be 24 to...
You don't have no lonely single mother category?
30,
Come on, Gary.
What now, Jay?
I think it was like 24 to 30. Wasn't it?
Yeah, 24 to 30 is our age group of the biggest listeners.
Wow.
Must be
That's
the music we
interesting.
play.
That's interesting. Yeah.
We're now a
Now
minority.
you're on Sirius Radio. We just got to get more people tuning in on the radio, and you got to get that spot. That's always nice too.
Yeah, well, we're working on it. Do you know I do a gig a couple times a month out of the Philippines on 3 radio stations there, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, you know what else I was thinking?
What were you
because of all
thinking?
the years I've known you, I think that we need to do a first anniversary Night Dreams Talk Radio, compound weekend fundraiser for something.
How about
Have you ever done that?
No, but we could do it for
a first anniversary one.
We could do that for James, like for cake and ice cream. We could raise a whole bunch of money for him.
We could.
Yeah.
We could. Depends what kind of topping he likes. So, to each his own.
He likes chocolate with peanuts in it.
You got to have some.
There we go.
Some whipped cream. And some whipped cream. Can't forget that.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, is there anything you want to say to all the listeners?
No, I just want to say I'm here for you. I like checking in with you, even though I know it's personal on a very public level. But hey,
when you getting married, by the way, I seen a picture of your
I know.
fiance.
Last time I talked to you, you need to have the Jody love drama saga on your show. So yeah, it's getting interesting. So I learned about boundaries. So I've been there 5 times, and I said I'm not going there again until you come here and meet my mom. So now he's kind of figuring that out. So, but I'm holding my ground.
Okay.
So, gotta hold my ground.
Well, you stay out of trouble, will you?
Get stuff. If I ever, you're the first person that I'll text and save a picture and send to if I got any weird stuff going on. But pretty quiet over here in Saskatchewan right now. It's getting cold.
Yeah.
I don't like the cold.
Yeah. That's why my grandmother moved out of Saskatchewan when she had my mother. Anyway, you take care, will you?
Sounds good, guys.
Okay.
You have a good one.
Okay. Well, there it is. Jody's love life.
Yeah, that could be a little novella or novel.
Yeah, it could be.
Soap opera, maybe.
I still told, remember I told her she should stand in front of a prison by the road, and when they get out of prison, there's a perfect candidate right there.
Hold one of them little cardboard signs that has,
Yeah, husband wanted.
Husband wanted, and there's probably a few volunteers from there, I would imagine.
Well, yeah. Okay, if somebody's been locked up for 20, 30 years, I mean, they're going to be happy to get married.
Yeah.
At least for the night.
Right, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
But, if you look at about the disclosure, if we're going to really get disclosure, okay, it takes more than talking about it. You have to keep putting the fire to the congressman, your congressman. So if you guys out there, whoever is out there that wants the answers, the truth, send an email a couple times a month to your congressman and say, what's going on? Because if they don't have the fire underneath them, they're going to keep putting, I say this honestly, it's a circus. They're not telling us the truth, and they're not going to tell us the truth, and they're going to drag this on forever. And, you can have ETs in the backyard, or like Captain Glenn last night was talking about all the years flying, big aircraft, right?
Yeah.
Between here and Japan to Europe, all over. And multiple times he's seen craft that wasn't ours.
That's right. That's right. And listen, when he was seeing it was, 80s and 90s and even 2000s, it's like, it's kind of hush hush. You want to ruin your career, you just
No, not. You just don't ruin your career. You lose your FAA license to fly. And then you get banned because even if you don't lose your license, the airlines won't hire you as a pilot. They don't want you.
Yeah, you'll get blackballed for sure. Matter of fact, you know somebody that happened to. So perfect example.
Well, they didn't get blackballed. It was when they were in the Air Force, and they were a colonel, and they saw coming back from a bombing run over North Vietnam, coming back to Guam. They saw a UFO off the wing, and my friend, picked up the microphone to report it. And the co-pilot said, "Don't report it. It will ruin your career." Well, he reported it, and he was told a few minutes later to land, do not depart from the craft. None of your crew members depart from the craft. They were surrounded with MPs, with M16s, and they surrounded the craft, and they separated everybody and took them in separate rooms. And they were in those rooms for hours, and all of a sudden these guys in suits came in and made them sign documents and told them that their military career is over. My friend wanted to retire as a general. That was his goal. He was a full colonel, and he wanted to retire out of the military as a general. And he was told that he was going to be, out of the military.
Yeah, that must be some kind of intimidation factor to, make them stay on the plane and separate them, come out with armed guard MPs. I you know what I mean?
Yeah, they signed agreement, and what he told me off to the side is that if he went to the public and disclosed that, they would bring him back into, the military, court-martial him, and he would be in Leavenworth to the day he died.
It'd brig him up, put him right in the brig. Yeah. Yep.
So, again, it's quite common if you talk to pilots, not so much private pilots, but commercial pilots that do long hauls. They've seen things, and it's really eerie what they have seen.
It is. And, those pilots, they're the ones that's up, in the 30,000 feet range. So they can see a lot more and than somebody that's flying a relatively small plane. But yeah, there's been a lot of reports. Remember the one in the late 80s or 86 or 87, the Japan flight where they seen that UFO. The pilot said it was bigger than an aircraft carrier. It was huge, giant.
Yeah. Do you know what happened to that pilot too? Yeah.
Oh man, his life went.
He was lucky. He managed to. At the last minute, they were going to, the FAA was going to strip him of his commercial pilot license, but the problem is nobody would hire him after that.
Nope, it's like he got
he's blackballed. That was it.
Yeah, blackballed. Right.
His career was over as a commercial pilot.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another thing too, Gary. All these reports with these big flights with a lot of people on, or crew members, military or even commercial. When they having these big events with UFOs, there's got to be some fantastic video or pictures out there somewhere.
Oh, there's a lot. But here's the other thing. I hate to say it, AI has got so far advanced.
Oh, yes, ridiculous.
It's so hard now. Seriously.
Yeah.
How do you prove something is real and not real anymore? Even the experts are now having a hard time to distinguish what has been artificially made versus what is real captured. When you had film cameras, it was really hard to fake it. I mean, you could fake it by taking a picture and then retaking it and modifying it and then and make a new negative of it. But it was easy to detect. Even a couple years ago, it was so easy to debunk which is real and which isn't real. But here's a good point. There's a lot of amateurs out there that still don't know how to work it. So they can sit there and they can create, CGI, these images of UFOs or aliens. And you can debunk it really quick.
Yeah, and, here's the scary part. We're basically just on the ground floor of this stuff. Can you imagine how far advanced it's going to be in 5-10 years from now?
No, even a year, 6 months from now. It's crazy how fast it's moving. I didn't think anything about, CGI or even, honestly, AI back 6 months ago, 5 months ago. And it was my son that got me involved into it. Because, I used to write all the ad copy. I used to do all that stuff myself. I did it for years, on radio stations, right? And now I can just sit there and spend a couple minutes, right, saying what I want to AI and then tweak it. No, that's not quite right. You just need to do this. And it automatically writes everything. It's scary.
And guess what? Think about how many jobs it's going to replace in the future. On top of that, think about that for a minute.
Well, look how many criminals or innocent people are going to go to prison over all this stuff too. Because about a year ago in my state, there was by the sound, that's the salt water. There was a restaurant where a guy shot somebody, and the camera picked it up. But one of the people with the court decided, they really didn't, the image quality wasn't quite there. So he had AI clean it up. And the guy got away with committing murder because the judge looked at it and he goes, well, I can't accept this as evidence. That's the only evidence they had was the camera film or the digital image they had.
Yeah.
And he modified it to the point the judge said, well, this has been modified.
Yeah, it's completely something different.
And what's bad about it is you can actually now, I can put you in a scene. I can put anybody anywhere. And that is what's scary now.
Gary, I've seen video of what looks like a certain politician saying certain stuff, and it's all generated. It's not even them.
No.
So you know how bad you can frame somebody or say, hey, this guy, here's proof he did this or this, and it was all AI generated, and you can't even tell.
Look at their hands.
Yeah, hands and feet. Yep.
Yeah,
right.
their hand movement, the joints, and sometimes the lips. If you watch the lips, it's not quite right. But I've seen that, especially on TikTok. Oh, God, it's so much, that stuff up there. That you look at it and you go, oh, my God, And not just that, they are cloning people's voices.
Right.
I watched, back a couple of weeks ago, I forgot about Paul Harvey. But there's a clone up there of Paul Harvey. But not Paul Harvey, another lookalike, or not, somebody don't even look like Paul Harvey, but using Paul Harvey's voice.
Yeah, he had a one-of-a-kind voice because he was... I think he did he was on all the radios here. I remember in the 70s anyway.
That 60s, really popular in the early 60s, all the way up to when he retired.
West Virginia, Ohio area, big time.
Yeah. But that's what we got now. So, I mean, again, you what do you believe anymore?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I've seen videos like you just said. It's just amazing because now the voice too. So, and listen, think about where it's going to be in 5 years from now. Huh.
Well, okay, here's right now. Listen to this. Let me find it. Okay, I'm going to play this.
If you're not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary, go to YouTube and subscribe now.
Why are you not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio on YouTube?
Why are you not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio on YouTube?
That's all AI generated.
They're creepy.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you remember watching some of those older movies, sci-fi movies where they had digital voices.
Yeah.
And, and this is off of the chat AI. Just think about something it's more sophisticated. Google has their new platform out there for AI. And people are selling software out there that you can't distinguish. In fact, go on TikTok. All that stuff you're hearing is all AI generated. Those voices of famous news people and people like that, you listen to it and you go, oh my God.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. Because, on Netflix and all these streaming platforms, they get a boatload of foreign movies and you got to read them or they dub them and it's really bad. This AI could fill right in, eliminate jobs, and it's going to be dubbing and you would never even know.
I watched yesterday or day before yesterday, a movie about a new movie. It said blockbuster movie. This is off of YouTube about the Planet of the Apes, a new whatever. And I was all excited. I said, okay, a new movie from Planet of the Apes got by without me knowing about it. So I watched that. And it took me, again, 3 or 4 minutes to realize, hey, this isn't a movie with actors. It was all AI generated.
Yep. I seen part of that the other day, probably the same one. Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah, but didn't that surprise you how, the sophisticated that AI is getting?
It is. And that's what I mean. It's really going to, listen, 5 years is going to be even way better. And think about all the jobs. That's what I keep baffling my mind.
Well, it's going to create, again, as we have grown. Remember newspapers? When you could go down to the local 7-Eleven or your local grocery store and go pick up a newspaper?
Yeah.
Well, what happened to newspapers? Because of the internet, right? The newspapers are gone. And what ones are left, are digital up on the internet and have only a few employees, which the newspapers had their news reporters. They had all the staff. They had hundreds of employees. All gone.
Right.
As we move farther in time, everything is gonna. The next step is AI is going to replace a lot of people.
Well, it is, because perfect example in a lot of factories now, AI will replace people doing certain jobs that they had because it'll be AI connected to a machine. It'll be doing it for way cheaper, for way longer, more efficient.
Well, a robot, a lot of companies, manufacturers are using robots now.
That's what I mean.
They don't have to, look at the car assemblies.
AI right behind. Yeah.
Yeah. The cars are 99% put together by AI.
Right.
With robot, putting it together. Everything from, where they used to have to spray paint the primer and then paint it. Now it goes through a conveyor, it goes through and it's dipped. And then all the weld joints are all done by a robot. Everything is put together now. Again, we don't build much anything anymore in this country. It's really scary how it's going. And again, in the next few years from now, I hate to say it, the only type of jobs is going to be working at the fast food place.
That's even getting smaller and smaller. And another thing too, another 5-10 years, Gary, I bet 25-30% of these cars will be driving and parking themselves, and you'll just be a passenger in there because of the everything's driving itself now too.
I was reading a Wall Street Journal article here this morning. If you're going to buy a new car, you better buy it now, because they said in the next few months the prices of new cars are going to go way up. This is a big warning.
I'll stay with my used one.
Yeah, well, that might be, that the used market is their prices are going to go up too.
Yeah, until nobody quits buying them, then they're going to have to drop them to get rid of them.
I don't know. It's just, I hate to say it. Again, it's so many things going on all at once. We got the wars going on all over the world. We're uncertain about Ukraine now. We have, the economy is going to maybe take a dump here in the near future. Earth changes. People are in denial still about what's going on. But, gee, just check and see for yourself what's happening in Antarctica. And not just there, the North and South Poles. What's happening? It's getting scary. The water coming from the equator going up, that it's narrowing and slowing down. A lot of things are going on. The climate is changing. The sun, if you go out there and during the summer and look at the brightness outside, is not like it used to be. If you take what they call a meter to measure the light, you'll notice it's changing. A lot of things are going on, and we're not ready for it. I'm telling you, we need to be prepared in this country. We need to shore up our grid system. We need to really concentrate on that more than anything, because if our grid goes down, we've been lucky with solar flares. You know that. We could be sitting here, using a tin can with string connecting to our listeners. I mean, we've been lucky, but yet we don't spend the money where it needs to be spent. And all of a sudden, when the shit hits the fan, we're screwed.
Or something like that.
Not by a blonde either, with big boobs, I'll tell you that.
No, by AI robot. Automatize, or what do they call it? Automatize.
Yeah, and you have somebody who I won't say who is trying to bring robots. To be servants for man.
Yeah.
That's scary too. I mean, you're going to have, and where they learn and they have emotions.
Yeah. And then what happens one day when these robots be like, I'm tired of being a slave. This isn't right. Wait a minute. What's going on here? And then they start, that's.
Well, at one point they're going to look at, they are a human life, and they're going to look at after themselves, and they're going to look at us as maybe the virus. Do you know one of the old Twilight Zones where they had this guy on a prison planet, and he was the only person on this planet, and he had a shack, and they would bring food to him a couple times a year by spaceship, right?
Oh yeah, I see that one.
And then they brought him a kit to put together, which was a robot woman.
Yeah.
And she kept him company for so many years. And she learned how to love, compassion, and learned to be a human. And look what we did to her.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't end well. It never does.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, everybody, I want to thank you so much for making the show what it is. We've got so many great guests lined up. And again, if you want to contact me with a guest suggestion, or if you want to be a guest on the show, just contact me at Gary, at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. That's nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. I get hundreds of emails a day from people all over the world, from the UK, Ireland, Germany, France, Vietnam, Australia, New Zealand, you name it, South Africa, and we have listeners worldwide. I'm still puzzled why our age is now attracting younger people. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it might have something to do with more worldwide too, maybe. I don't know.
Well, maybe it's my great personality and looks and charm, my debonair, suave sophistication, man about man.
Or maybe it's your humbleness.
Oh, yeah, I'm not humble at all. Well, anything you want to say? Do you want to say good night, America? Or better yet, do you want to say good night, a world?
Worldwide, as we are being heard, good night. Make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and we will catch you on Wednesday.
Okay, everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's talk show radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers talk show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news.